What's going on, everybody? Florida State fans, Seminole Nation. Hope everybody had a good Saturday. Hope y'all were safe and uh, had a good day and stuff like that. Well, up until what we just witnessed tonight, Florida State unfortunately dropped their second straight game, second straight ACC loss. They fall to Miami 28-22. But the game wasn't really that close. From start to Florida State started out with a very good first drive. They drove the ball like 70 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Should have been a defensive pass interference called, but it wasn't. Settled for the field goal. But after that, I mean, Miami was they're just a better team right now. We did what we wanted to as far as stopping the run. Mark Fletcher Jr. only had 40 yards on 12 carries, so we neutralized the run, which is what you wanted to do against Miami. You wanted to make them one dimensional as possible. But you know, give credit to Carson Beck. I mean, he was. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, he was 20 or 27 tonight. He threw 4 touchdowns. Two of them to Tony, who absolutely killed us in the, coming out of the slot. He was a beast tonight. Um, and you just got to tip your hat to him. They, they got the lead early, and then they, did what they had to do as far as trying to run down the clock a little bit. They weren't getting a whole lot of yards, but when you got a double-digit lead and stuff like that. You can do things like that. So um, yeah, it's not necessarily losing to Miami. I mean, even though I hate losing to Miami, but I just didn't think it would be this type of performance. Last week, the offense, some questionable play calling sometimes, but the offense, put up enough points to win. They played well enough to win, but the defense didn't help them. They couldn't stop a nosebleed last week. This week, the defense held as much as they could. I mean, they only scored 14 points in the first half. So, but the offense they were just off tonight. I didn't really understand, some of the trick plays that Gus Malzahn was calling early. Too many reverses and trying to be too cute. But Tommy Castellanos was off tonight, throwing a lot of prayer balls to me. Just wishing upon the star pretty much. Um, it was just a bad night. And we have to find some way to get some other receivers involved besides Deuce Robinson. I think we target him a little too much. And also, I didn't get why we didn't attack Miami's defense over the middle of the field, which is where, they left it open all game. And, I just don't understand why we didn't attack there earlier. But yeah, I mean, Miami's just a better team right now, y'all. I mean, I know we hate saying that as Florida State fans, but um, they're 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 just a better team. They run the ball. I said we stopped them tonight, but their formula is they run the ball well. They don't ask the quarterback to do much, and they play good defense. If you can do those three things, you can win a lot of games, and on any level of football. So yeah, they're just a better team right now. I said it's not about losing; it's just the performance. I thought we would have performed better tonight, um, but it's clear we have a lot of stuff still to work on, and I think um, the win against Alabama. A lot of people are going to start calling it a fluke now, but that that win wasn't a fluke at all. I mean, we went out there, we handled our business against Alabama, but that also, I think, it it kind of blinded people in thinking that this team was going to really like have a shot to compete to win it all, or go undefeated. And as happy as I was we beat Alabama, my stance didn't change as far as the season. I predicted before the year, I said if they can get 8 wins after going 2-10, I mean that's a success. And that's what I want people to understand is I know the Alabama win felt good, and then you blow out the next two opponents, and you're 3-0, and you're feeling great, but you gotta understand where you were last year. You were 2-10 team, and that's just not going to completely turn around in 1 year. Um, so I hope people aren't you know, uh, jumping off the boat and throwing the season away and saying fire Mike Norvell. Well, I shouldn't say that because I know a lot of people are doing that. I was on Twitter earlier, but this was never going to be a 1 year fix, y'all. Like I said that if they could go from 2-10 and get to eight wins, maybe nine, that would be phenomenal. And all that's still in play, but Miami's just a better team, and you just got to tip your hat to them right now. Um, but I will say this: one thing I did like that I saw tonight, the performance overall was not good. Um, this team last year, when they got down, 14-3 and definitely 21-3, and don't even start on was 28-3. Uh, that team last year would have laid down and just got rolled over. Like the game probably went at 45-3. But this team in the fourth quarter scored 19 points. You were a possible onside kick recovery away multiple times from possibly pulling off a miracle. Um, so we made the score look better than what it was. Like I said, we got outplayed, but this team didn't fold. They fought all the way to the end, and you had a chance on the onside with about 30-some seconds left to have a shot to score a game-winning touchdown. So that's the biggest positive that I'm taking away from it is the fight. Because this team last year would have not have done that. They would have got rolled over. Um, but just they had the right game plan. They watched the film. They attacked us where they needed to attack us. They did a good job scouting. The screens and stuff we want to do in the passing game, and even the running game too. They were just ready to play. They just outplayed us, and they're just a better team right now. But hey, this is what comes along with a rebuild. When you're 2-10, I don't care who you bring in, you're building to something. Like you're starting from the ground floor, trying to work your way up, basically. So, um, we just gotta, we have to um, find some linebackers. We've stressed how this team has recruited linebackers well, and it's starting to show, especially these last couple of weeks. So, especially tonight, these guys they're not good in space. And then tackling, not just linebacker, just tackling overall on the team. Like very bad tackling tonight. Like very bad fundamentals. You don't see guys wrapping up. You don't see guys, getting in their stand, chopping their feet, and get ready to, launch. It's just a lot of, a lot of tackling errors that I didn't like tonight. But like I said, you got to tip your hat to Miami, man. They did what they had to do, but we have to shake this one off as much as it hurts. Excuse me. Got to shake this one off and get ready for Pittsburgh because that's a talented defense. They got a good defensive front. That's coming in next week, so can't cry with spilled milk. We got to get ready for them. But you know, they talked about responding to adversity from last week, and they just didn't do that tonight. You got to call a spade a spade. They got outcoached, outplayed. It looked like there was a difference in talent level. Everything. It was just bad. Like I said, the fight in the fourth quarter showed me a lot because this team could have rolled over, and you actually, believe it or not, with a few minutes left. I mean, if Miami doesn't have that drive that ate up, so many minutes on the clock in the fourth quarter, we need to get the ball back. You really could have had a shot to actually pull off a miracle and win this game. So, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. Like I said, remember 2-10 last year. When you're 2-10, you're you're building from there. And you know, I think the fight they showed, I saw Castellanos on the sideline. He looked emotional once we didn't get that last uh, onside kick attempt that could have gave us the ball with about 20 something seconds left, no timeouts. But we could have possibly scored a touchdown and won. He looked upset because he know he didn't play well tonight. Also turnovers. Um, turnovers killed us. You know, Cromwell had when it was 14-3, we were driving. He fumbled, and then on the 4th and 8, I think it's from like the 41-yard line. I really understand why Mike didn't punt there. Um, I would have punted the ball and pinned them deep, and you know, how I would have played it that way. But they get the interception. They run, I think, about 40 yards back down the field. Then they score on like a flea flick on the next play. Next thing you know, now it's 21-3. So the floodgates started to open. So didn't really understand going for that. I understand you're trying to build some momentum, but I just thought they should have kicked the ball, punted and pinned Miami deep and played defense. Like I said, your defense actually, um, they stopped the run well. Just they got gashed with these big passing plays. They had no answer for Tony. And Daniels. See, Daniels, he was just putting Jerry Wilson in a frying pan. A very, very, very rough outing for Jerry Wilson tonight. He just didn't play well. You got to call it what it is. But yeah, hopefully some of the people that were, you know, who had a little bit too much dip on the chip, as young kids say, when they beat Alabama, maybe now this will start bringing people back down to earth a little bit. So I never thought they were going undefeated, even after they beat Alabama. Um, you know, I just knew where we came from last year, and how bad they were, offensive line, defensive line, talent wise. Like no matter who you brought in here, it wasn't going to be a 1 year fix where you're going to flip it around and be a national championship contender. You hopefully maybe you can win enough games to maybe compete for a playoff spot. But even that was a lot to ask. So um, yeah, just a reminder that hey, you were 2-10 last year, and now you got to climb your way back to where you were in 22 with 10-3, and in 23 went 13-1. Um, that's a lot to ask to go from 2-10 to you're gonna turn that around that quickly. So I don't want people to give up on Norvell. So I know there was a lot of call for his head, as there is after every Florida State loss, especially going back to last year. Um, Yeah, I remember. Like I said, he won 23 out of 27 games over a 2 year span. Then we fell off a cliff last year. So this is now the climb back. That's one of our markers is the climb. So 2-10 is a deep hole to come from, but we still have a chance to have a good year. It's just 2 losses. We still got 7 more games to play. Um, so you win 5 or 6 out of those. Let's say you win 5 out of the next 7. I mean, that's 8-4, which is right where I had Florida State. Which is what I wanted them to at least be 8-4 this year. That's a 6-game turnaround. That's a big turnaround. But yeah, we got a lot of things to fix, man. I said these linebackers, we gotta get better talent there. Darrell Jackson Jr. at one point, I mean, he was just a one-man wrecking crew, just getting a lot of pressure in the middle, but he was like the only one. I mean, if you go back and watch the film, he was pushing their center back like routinely, but he was the only one. And I said, Miles Zane, I just didn't get a lot of trick plays early. It's like 3rd and 5, and you're running double, reverses and double reverses and all that. You just got too cute. Um, but that's just the way it goes, y'all. You know, luckily, and you got to remember that this time last year we were 1-4, and the season was, pretty much done. So there's no need to throw in the towel yet. I mean, this is just what it is. You just got beat by a better team tonight. Um, But we can't cry with spilled milk, as I like to say on these. We got a Pitt team that's coming in with a talented defense, and you gotta put this behind you. We still have a lot to play for, but you know these are the growing pains when you have a year like we had last year. And even if you are better, you're still putting things together. So you're gonna have nights like this when you have bad performances. We don't like bad performances, but that's just a part of it. Especially like I said, when you're coming from that low, when you're a 2-10 ball club, um, it's just hard to turn all the way around to being a contender in 1 year. So, but yeah, I didn't want to stay on too long tonight. I'm sorry I got on late, um, but just wanted to tap in with y'all real quick. Like, share, and subscribe this. For everybody out there. Let me see. Yeah, you definitely got to win recruiting wars, man. A loss like this kind of hurts, but I think that fight at the end will help because I think there were like over 100 recruits um, at the game tonight. So, yeah, you definitely got to, we got to get better talent too, But I just don't want people to just give up on anything. I mean, Malzane and Tony White, this is their first years here. It wasn't going to be a quick fix, y'all. It's just, I don't care how good a coach is, what reputation he has. You're bringing in something new, and you're doing a turnover of a staff and bringing in so many transfers and all that. Like, it's not, etched in stone that you're just going to turn something around that quickly, even though these guys have a reputation of being good coaches. Um, and don't give up on Mike Nopel either. I mean, good Lord, y'all. Like I said, man won 23 out of 27 games 2 years before last year. So, and we're just 3-2 right now. Like I said, 7 more games to go. We still got a lot of football left, a lot of room to grow. Um, we also, I think, in the passing game, we got to start attacking the middle more. Just not just these routes going downfield, and we got to get some crossers, some slants, and over routes and stuff like that. But yeah, this is we got to go back to the drawing board. We got a lot to fix. But we still got 7 more of these. You know, and we're 0-2 in the ACC right now, so we definitely got to win next week. We got to get us a conference win, y'all. We just lost our 7th straight ACC games, if I'm not mistaken. I think we're 1-9 going back to last year, and our last 10 ACC games. The only win was when we beat Cal last year. So yeah, we got to get back to winning in the ACC, man. I know a lot of people had high hopes. I say after the Bama win that um, this team could maybe compete for the conference. And I mean, I know I was in a way, but that's looking very, very bleak now. I mean, it would take a lot of people just falling off the cliff and doing terrible ACC play for us to even get back in contention for something like that. But we got to get the ACC win first. So we don't even need to be thinking about conference championships and all that. We just need to keep growing and getting better as a team. Take these lumps and just do what we gotta do to salvage. Well, I don't want to say salvage because the season's not over, but get back on a winning track, and we still have an opportunity to do that. So, yeah, just want to hop on here for a little minute, man. Tap in with y'all. I said like, share, subscribe to Florida State Live on the Voice of College Football, so we can get this channel going a little bit more. I appreciate everybody that tapped in and viewed tonight. It's rough, man. You don't like losing games. You definitely don't like losing to Miami as a Florida State fan. So, but yeah, that's just a better team. You just gotta call a spade a spade. We still got a ways to go before we're even on their level, and they're not even the top level to me. But they're better than us right now. So, but anyway, I will check back in with y'all next week. Hopefully, it'll be after a win, and we can improve to 4-2 and get this stench of these losses, out of our mouths. Um, but I appreciate it. Y'all take care. Be safe. And as always, go Noles.